Good evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Taylor and Fred Coury, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for coming on the show. Fred is probably most well known in the past for being the drummer for Cinderella, but he's also been like probably one of the premier rock sub drummers too over the past many years. And he's also been prolific as a great composer and for TV and sports, songwriter and composer. I'll kind of touch on a bunch of these different things today, and then at the end we're going to kind of lead off in some of the bigger projects you're on and what people can go check out that you're doing.
Awesome.
Yeah, really cool. So you actually, and a lot of stuff people can refer to is either at your website, which is really cool, is doublefortemusic.com, which has a great little like a little food chain of you through the years, a little timeline.
Thanks. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Just some silliness.
Well, it's great, because it's not a lot of It's hard because you know how it goes. There's not a lot of active websites. They get built and then they become ghost towns.
Right. Yeah. I do. I am guilty of letting that lapse quite a bit, but then I go in there and kind of try to update everything because I try to keep it fun. If somebody's going to go and take their own time to come and even care to see what I'm doing, try to make it a little, give that the respect and make it a little bit fun for them. Let me just throw in all that old candy from the fun rock years.
Well, it is fun. I mean, I'm close to the age. I'm 50, 52. So
Mhm.
the main heyday years were also my prime years, and I think that's why everyone remembers their young, financially expendable free time years as their main years. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
but I mean, this doesn't necessarily mean it's always the best years for music. Like I love a lot of new music; it's still coming out. But like people are like, oh, I don't give up. I remember that. Well, we used Cinderella. I love Night Songs, but yeah, but they did like three or four other albums afterwards that were great. But
Right,
that's what they
right.
remember because that was their peak high school year. And then they're like, oh, I got out of high school, I stopped listening to music, or and they forget the bands
Totally.
go on. Um,
I totally get it, and I'm guilty of that as well.
are you? I think the
Yeah.
internet's been great for that though to go back. I've been able to go back because there's some bands I was unable to financially check out. With YouTube, I can go back and go, okay, I like this album. Now I go back, I like an iTunes or something. As I got older and better career, I can afford to go back and buy this music. So
Hmm.
the technology has allowed that at least.
That's right. Yeah, and that's what's great about technology and being able to do that. I always, when I'm asking someone or when I'm trying to learn a song, I had this thing I was doing with Dee Snider and a bunch of guys in Vegas many years ago, and we were a cover band. Um, and to go back and learn some of the songs or see what some of the drummers were doing, we never had that as kids. We couldn't really. We could listen to a record, try to slow a record down by hand because that's what it was
Yeah.
on a turntable to figure it out. But now it's like, oh, I want to learn Hot for Teacher. I can just go to the internet, Hot for Teacher drums only, and
Yeah.
bam, there they are. And you can learn everything. And so that's why I think a lot of the musicians today in newer rock are better than any of us were back then, as far as technically
Yes.
better because their influences, they get to see everything, they get to break it down, they get to actually see it. If I wanted to go see Neil Peart play, I would have to go to see him in concert.
But
That was it. So
well,
there you
the
go.
funny thing is actually a lot of guitar musicians that done that though. They're like, I have to do a gig. And they're like, I don't remember my own stuff. I'll go on, Ultimate Guitar to learn my own licks, which is
That's
always
right.
pretty funny to me.
That's pretty. Yeah, you're right. It is good. Yeah,
I mean, that's where I go.
it's
But
very
I'm not.
cool.
I couldn't play guitar until YouTube came out because I couldn't learn by ear. I had to be on visual. So to me, it's good for an amateur. Um, but for you, when you were learning though, I mean, you're classically trained and from the very beginning, and you play like and you sing like what instruments do you actually play at this point? I mean, it's a lot. I feel.
Well, what instruments do I play well? None.
Well, no,
But
no. I
what
feel like you
instruments can I
well
play? Uh,
decently. I guess I don't
yeah,
know. It's all subjective.
I guess. Yeah, violin, a little bit of cello, uh, guitar, bass, all the band instruments. Bass, guitar, drums, trumpet. I forgot how to play trombone, piano. Um, and if I can't play something in the orchestra, I've been in orchestras for so long, and I guess I'm pretty good as a programmer. I can program it to make you think that I've played it. Yeah.
Is that from the composition background you got from Berkeley?
And UCLA, yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that makes a huge difference, I think, with musicians, because anybody who's been classically trained or played in high school bands even really have an edge up when they're in other bands. I don't think people realize that.
I think so, in different ways. I think things come out of it. Uh, I started at a young age. I was 5, and I think, I'm so lucky that my parents knew that there was something there. I was kind of a natural.
Hmm.
Um, when I was so young, it came easily. It was a gift. And then at 6 was my first performance. So once they realized this guy's not going to get a job, he's going
At
to
5,
do
6.
music. He's going to do music. And then so at 7, I was in a music conservatory, and then it started going on hours of practice a day at a young age. It started with 3 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours, and then 4 hours a day, and then through all my fifth, sixth, seventh grade, it was 4 hours a day of rehearsal, all the way up through my teen years. And on Saturdays, it was training orchestra, which was from 8 in the morning until noon every Saturday. So it was
Wow.
definitely not easy. And at the time, at the beginning, you don't notice it and you just love it because you're really good at
Right.
something. So you're just kind of showing off and you're enjoying the practicing and you're learning stuff. And it was, you're a little kid, it's a sponge and it's great. But then after a while, you wanted to go play baseball with your friends, and they're going out to the pool in town, and everybody's going to go have a barbecue, and you're going to training orchestra to do that. And so then it starts changing. You don't like doing it anymore. And then so you try to rebel. But every time I tried to rebel and add an instrument to my repertoire, my mom would add an hour of violin practice to it. So yeah, you can play drums, but you're going to have to add an extra hour to the violin. So I go through that whole thing. And then finally you're just like, I don't want to play violin anymore. And then, um, gosh, I'm so glad I got to do all of that, because now it all has come full circle, and everything that I'm doing musically is because of that. And learning things came really easy because of that, all of that heavy duty training that most don't get. Like
Right.
when I got the Cinderella gig, they wanted me to learn 4 songs in a week. And because of what I did for my whole life, I learned all 10 songs that they had on the demo, um, in a day. And it was note for note. And I think that's why I got to do these fill in gigs. Uh, and that was all because, so that's like the thing that I carry from that. Other people are just amazing at writing songs and can come up with that stuff quickly, or lyrics or something. That's not my gift, but I think my gift is, if AC/DC called tomorrow, I could be on a plane and then be show ready tomorrow night.
That's incredible. So
And that's
is
a
it, is
bold
it,
statement, but it's,
no,
only if
I
I,
get
yeah, I have to put in the work. It'll no sleep and a lot of charting, and I might have to cheat on looking down at charts and whatnot, but I'll get it done.
Is that what it is? It's a mixture of charts with relearning it, and then
It's
natural fill,
all
and part of it
charts.
it's all charts. Okay, I see. I
It's
don't
all
play any
charts
drums, so
because
I had no idea.
no, it's in anything. It's writing it down. If I can write it down as I'm listening to it,
Hmm.
the memorization is amazing. Um, because I'm writing every part down. It's not just listening to it and trying to remember it. I'm writing it, I'm seeing it, I'm playing it back by looking at it. I wish I could find all the charts that I did for the Poison stuff, because that was cool. Or even Night Ranger, but GNR was no charts. It was just
That is actually kind of cool. If
I
we could talk about that for a minute, because I don't think everybody knows about that. I know about it because I'm a dork. I'm a user dork. But if we could talk about how you jumped into that, another crazy gig, which ties into it. So, for people that don't know, Guns N' Roses was, I don't know, Stephen he broke his hand, I think, right, or something,
yeah, uh-huh.
and they needed a drummer, and they called on you. I mean, it's your story. You can tell it awesome. So you want to hop in?
Well, I had been given. We were in Japan. Cinderella was doing a Japanese tour, and on the way over, our manager gave me the first GNR record, a cassette, and but it hadn't come out yet. And I had heard it for the first time, and we had heard it before anyone. And I was like, "What is this?" And immediately I fell in love with it, and I couldn't stop listening to it. I listened to it the whole way over, and then every moment that we weren't on stage, I was listening to this. I could not get enough of it because I'd never heard anything like it.
Yeah,
And so that one was just I heard it so much that I memorized it. And I never wrote any charts, and because I never thought I was going to do anything, so I just loved the band, and I knew that. And then one day when I was home, months later, I got a call at 4 in the morning or something, or 2 in the morning, and I was out, and I had gotten home a little bit later, and then I heard the voicemail said, "Hey, learn the song that's on your outgoing message. I'll call you later." And "Welcome to the Jungle" was on the outgoing message. It was from a friend, Doug Goldstein, who ended up being Guns N' Roses manager, but he was their tour manager at the time, and I met him when he was David Lee Roth's bodyguard. Um,
really. I didn't know
and
he was.
yeah,
I know he's bodyguard. That's interesting.
yeah, yeah, he was security for Dave. So at like 7 o'clock, the phone rang, and he said, "Can you be on a flight? Maybe at 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. Sometime." The phone rang. "Can you be on the first flight out this morning? There's a show tonight, and we need a drummer." And I said, "Yeah." So I flew out, and it was to Minneapolis, and they got stuck in a snowstorm. And the first time I met Axel was on the way to the stage. He said, "So you're the guy?" And I said, "I am." He goes, "Let's rock." And then so we just went up and did the show, and it was, by my memory, flawless. You can actually, I think those are on, some bootlegs on the
There's got
interwebs.
to be something out there. I didn't even
You
know. I'll
can
have to look for
listen
that.
to, yeah, yeah. It was pretty easy, and yeah. So I finished the tour, and then I came back and I did all of the headlining dates with them here. So there were four of them in LA. Yeah, so it was cool. Yeah, it was great, and it was all the original guys, and they were absolutely phenomenal.
What is timestamp too? Because that I remember, like I said, that was the album. That was like the Led Zeppelin album for our generation. I mean, I heard the album was going to come out. I was there the first day to get it, and I, like everyone else, I just listened to it like for the first year, like every day. It was like the most different thing in the world. But the fact that you got to play with it while you're in another phenomenal band, you know,
Yeah, I'm
is
so
just a double home
so
run.
lucky. I'm so lucky.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I'm
you
just
may be a
lucky.
little bit, but you're also you a very talented, and you're also b very kind, and you're nice. You know, so you're those are the perfect recipes for having a musician or a fellow
Thank you.
musician to be. And somebody's very kind
Thank you.
and needs to go. You're welcome. It needs to get along with and talented. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything bad or negative about you or your playing or anything ever. It's always been like, oh, Fred's great. He's a great drummer. Like he's a great guy. Like I've done
Oh,
hundreds of
thank
interviews.
you.
Like it's phenomenal. I mean, you're welcome. It's who you are. I mean, it's the person
Oh,
that you
that's
are.
really kind. Thank you very much.
Well, and I think it's great. I think and it goes to say like, and you're always very complimentary because I know we're talking here about you subbed for Ricky Rocket, and
Uh-huh.
I know you're talking about how complex. How some people say he's not a good drummer or not very complex because everyone likes to just do their little jabs. But you actually said you know you're talking about it in an interview how challenging it could be. What kind of drummer was? It's not
He's,
as easy as you
oh
think.
my gosh. I thought it was just going to come in, and I'm going to, okay, I'm going to really straighten out these tempos, and I'm going to Phil Rudd this thing, and it was like, no, there's a swing. There is a swing to his playing that
Yeah,
nobody knows, and it's more like Bunny Carlos. People think, oh, he's got to play like Bonham. No,
yeah.
it's Bunny Carlos. He has got a swing. So when the first time I had to play Something to Believe in, I thought it was go, 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 God. No,
Yeah.
it's got God. He has such a swing, and because he's up there and he's doing all this stuff with the hats and he's standing and twirling and doing all that, so people, I think, get jealous of that. Like, well, he's not doing you know,
Putting the
Dave
work in.
Weckl riffs, but I can't do Dave Weckl, things.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. There's something with Poison that people want to say bad things about,
Well, I think they
and
branded themselves as a party band from the very beginning, and I think it
they're the
hurt them.
best party band.
No, but I'm saying I think it hurt them
Yeah,
also because they were the kings of the makeup look, and I think it got rid of their other the credibility of like CC's great guitar work. Or, you know what I'm saying? I just saw them on the tour, the stadium tour recently. You know, and they
yeah.
sound great. They sound no different than when I saw them in the '90s.
They
Um,
all of the reviews came back as that was the best band on the bill. Uh, I think they're just a great fun party band. So this is the thing, I know the guys in the other bands, and they were like, "What do you think of Poison?" For the Not that I had any say in it, but doing the Poison opening, I said you couldn't pick a better act to open this show. I said the one thing about Bret Michaels, I've never seen him have an off day, and I've toured
mhm,
with him 10 times, like major tours. So
right.
I've seen them a lot. He's never not been able to sing his parts. He's never not delivered live, and it's never not been a party with those guys. Same
Well, they
thing
made
with
sense.
all the other guys, huh? They
They,
what?
well, they made sense on the bill that with Def Leppard, and I know you're friends with the crew as they're dissolving right now. They're having enough of their own problems, but Def Leppard were solid. They were great. I was impressed with Def
Yeah,
Leppard and
yeah, they're
how big they
incredible.
come out with a brand new song. They're opening a stadium show with a brand new song.
That good for them because that
Oh,
is that
that is awesome.
that's because they're great. They're big. They're huge. Yeah, really good.
They put the work
Courageous. I
in.
remember the Bullet Boys tried something like that years ago. Mark to read. We're going to do something nobody's done before, and they opened with a ballad. I was like,
Oh,
yeah, maybe not the best choice, a ballad,
yes.
but good for you for trying. That lasted one show.
It's not even the song. It's just not how you start a show. It just feels like
Exactly.
it's
It's
like the
like,
worst energy. It's like somebody's
yeah, it
sneezing at the
was the
buffet.
worst energy.
Ugh.
It was, but they were a lot of fun. Those guys were a ball.
But yeah,
Bobby Dahl said it the best. He said, I never wanted to be the greatest musician on the planet. I just wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to be an entertainer. And he goes, and I am. And you know
yeah,
what? He is.
he is,
Exactly.
and he enjoys it. And, I think the two other bands that could have gone on would have been some version of Cinderella and the mostly reformed version of RATT, Stephen Piercy and all those guys. I think that would have been great. You know, they could have
Rat
got it
needs to
together.
get back together. They needed
They're
to
not.
get a full thing. I don't think Skid Row will ever happen. Rat
No,
will never happen again.
Warren won't do it.
Uh,
I don't think. I've talked to Stephen live, had him on the show a lot, and I just saw them.
yeah,
He sounds so good live right now. Stephen is at his
yeah,
peak. He's
yeah,
clean, he's sober. God, he sounds good. I posted a video of the show I saw at Wolf Den a couple weeks ago. God,
yeah,
I was raving over it.
yeah. I know. It's just
Um,
too bad that people can't. It's like you guys are going to go make buckets of money to play music.
mhm.
Just suck it up and go out and rock.
It just
Have a
been
great
fun.
time
It's
and
a
look at
victory
it.
lap, you know,
Be
those
grateful.
things.
Be grateful for that. You know what I mean? Because nobody wants to play bars.
No, but
Be
I mean,
grateful and go out and do it. You know.
they could have, yeah, they could have done it. They could have been on. I would have rather seen Rat than Joan Jett. Decided because Joan Jett. It's just a different Rat would have been great with Poison and everybody else, you know.
Oh, it would have been cool. Yeah, but then it would have taken it down the full 80s hairband thing, and I don't think Motley wants to be a hairband, and Def Leppard is not a hairband. You know, they totally are. They're on it. You know, Def Leppard has sold more records than Motley, so Def
Yeah.
Leppard is in the superstar league, way bigger. You know,
Oh
you
yeah.
could do Def Leppard and Bryan Adams, and that would work. You
Yep.
know,
You're
because
right.
they're doing something. So Rat or Cinderella, not the right fit, because then it'll turn it into a Monsters of Rock 80s thing, and then it'll take the highbrowness away from it. And Poison, I didn't know this, but Poison's sold 60 million records. So, you know, they're a lot bigger than people think.
Oh no, I agree with you. But I think once Poison was on the bill, I
Mm-hmm.
think with Poison and Def Leppard, Motley Crue, people thought it was a hair bands. I don't know what Motley Crue's thinking any different. I think everyone had their heyday in the '80s and '90s for most of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Def Leppard's the
Mm-hmm.
only group are now putting out original music out of all of them, really. You know.
Right. Yeah. We'll see
And
what
Joe Jett, by the way,
Motley
sounded
does.
great. No digs towards her. She was fantastic. Her band was great. It was a good show. It just would have loved to see, a reunited Rat, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Up there with
Yeah.
those guys.
I would like that too. I love that band.
I'd love to see you and Steven do something again. I loved Arcade.
Thanks. It was a fun band. I think, you know, that ship has sailed. We
Oh, I'm
talked
sure.
about it. We always talk about doing something together, but I'm on to something else. You know,
Oh,
if something came along and I could step into it in an arena or bigger, I'll
mhm.
do it. But I don't want to put anything together again. It's just so much work. Like I'll do singles with guys. I think that would
Yep.
be
That's what I
fun,
was
is
thinking.
try
Like,
to
write some
do
songs together.
something.
Like, do some songs together, maybe.
Yeah, and just put out a couple of things, and just people say, "What's this for?" It's for nothing. It's for us. If you
Yeah,
dig it, cool.
that's
If
the
you
best
don't,
attitude.
well, if we dig it, you'll probably dig it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, mm, we'll do something else with somebody
Oh,
else.
I mean,
That would be fun. Just like a little revolving door. Be
yeah.
kind of neat.
I mean, Steven's always right, man. I'm sure he's got lots of music. I tell you. And it's
Yeah.
fantastic. But what was really great, so like during the '90s, like a lot of the rock scene kind of got really wonky and kind of weird. But you kept afloat because at that point you started to evolve into Ace being able to sub with other bands, and regardless of what was going on with Cinderella at the time, you started doing other production stuff. What was the transition
Yeah.
that really kind of got you to hop into that though? Like, was there something in particular that really made you jump into just
Well,
doing
I'm a
production type?
musician,
Right.
so I like to do things. So a lot of the bands that, you know, some people will just go out and tour or do a record and then nothing, and then tour and then nothing. But keep, if I am bored,
Yeah.
that's not good. I can't do it. I have to be busy. I have to be doing something. And I really only know how to do music. So, uh, so that's my whole thing. I have to keep that going, or else I just turn into a crazy hypochondriac and, you know, think about myself, and I have to always be working. And I love to do it. And I always thought it was fascinating. Like, what, you know, I got to watch Andy Johns do it. So it's like, oh, if you turn that knob there and you turn that knob, this sound comes out. Sometimes you can get a good drum sound, sometimes you can get a bad drum sound. It's just a challenge and a lot of fun to create something out of nothing.
Did
It
that
was
give
like
you a
there
different
was
perspective
nothing. And
though with him?
what's that?
Like, because did Andy Johns work with him? Because he also brought in a lot of different drummers on that album too, right?
Oh yeah. Well,
So did
yeah,
that? I mean, I can see that
he
being kind of
did.
a weird thing because a lot of people are like, "Well, you didn't get to drum on the first album because he kind of came in, and then you did the other one. But then why are you being replaced? You're a great drummer. Like, why aren't you just with the band?" I think it confused a lot of people, especially back then. But you have a different
Well,
view on things, though.
yeah, I mean, I think if all of that stuff with him didn't happen, so he was that way with everybody,
Yeah,
right? So I know the little known fact, Greg Bissonette came in and recorded the entire Cinderella record, and he
right.
got fired because he wasn't good enough.
Oh,
So,
that's
oh yeah,
insane. The
Cozy
first one
Powell,
you talking about
yeah.
nice songs?
I don't remember what record it was. So I wasn't in the band yet for Night Songs. So
Right, that's what
the
I'm saying.
songs that I auditioned to were the demos of that record, where some of them ended up being that record. That
Right.
was Jody Cortez, who ended up being in the Kingdom. Kingdom Come or something, one of
Okay,
those
yeah.
bands
Yep.
or something like that. And he was a studio guy. And because Cinderella's drummer got fired before we even got into the studio, so they needed to just get the record done and then find the band. Same with Jeff. Jeff was the same kind of thing. So this guy Barry De Benedetta played a lot of the solos on the Night Songs record. Um, so that was that, and you know you can either have your ego get into it and go, oh no, I'm better than that, or well, screw that. I like this. I'm going to learn from this. And he made me, you know, I was practicing drums literally 8 hours a day after that, getting on the click and getting solid and learning what I had to do to the point where I turned into a freight train when I play. And there's no
Which
going
is
off in the click. And then a lot of people, I remember Dana Strum once said to me, he goes, "You're playing to a click up there?" I said, "No." He goes, "It's impossible. You're that solid. It's impossible. It's just, it's exactly a straight line." I said, "Well, isn't it our job?" He goes, "I can't believe you're not playing with a click." And it was the greatest compliment. I don't know if he was trying to compliment me or I don't know what he was doing, but whatever it was, I never forgot it. Also, he told me I'd never get the Aussie gig because his friend was going to get it. So
so
uh,
maybe he was.
that's the way he was. This was way back before Cinderella. He
Oh
was
wow.
like, you're not going to get this gig." I was like, "Oh, yes, I am," and I did. But his friend didn't get it, well, unless his friend was Randy. I don't know.
Was it? I don't know.
Either way, but you know, I remember. It's funny how you remember things when you meet someone. They make how they make you feel.
But I think back then you had a great attitude even back then, especially being a young man in the 80s and 90s in rock and roll and to be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna get better from this and not being like, forget that. A lot of egos back then.
Why I
A little
I
mature
don't
there.
think you. I don't think. I think everybody has to fail to get better, or you don't get better, right? Because if you're already that guy, you don't get better. You have to have those setbacks to look at yourself. Some people can that don't need that, but I definitely did. I needed those wake up slaps in the face because violin came super easy to me.
Yeah.
Like anything I did on that worked. But with
Okay.
drums, I was also a natural at that. But when it came into kind of in the big leagues, I might have been a little bit too on easy street. You know what I mean? Sailing through a little bit easy. Uh, and then I'm glad I went through those, you know, because
Yeah.
it just yeah, I never forgot them. And I always remember and I still remember some of the things um, that were little tweaks in my playing that Andy would say or Tom or anybody really.
Yeah.
And okay, cool. And I keep that in mind to this day, not holding on to it, but just thinking, okay, don't screw up, you know, in this sense, in that sense. So it's all learning experience. You just have to take thinking out of it. Because once you
Right.
think about something, it really stops your growth and it's just your mind, you know, which can go crazy. The mind is a terrible thing. And if you take away the thinking, and that's the zone, right? When
Well, that's my
somebody you
motto,
think,
You think you stink. That's actually my motto for years. Anybody
oh, it's
knows me.
amazing. Yeah, amazing. Well,
It's
that's
funny
it.
to
I
say,
mean,
but if you
that's
think
how
about it, if you don't think about it, just do it.
I think Michael Jordan thought about those games like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do next? And I also read something about, I think it was Rick Allen, way, way back in like one of the early, before I had ever gotten in a band, just reading something in Modern Drummer. Because if I used to think about a a fill coming up in 4 bars. Here it comes. Every time I'd screw it up. If you don't think about it, uh, you just it flows. It's easy. Same with golf. People say that you see the ball going into the hole. If you think, it gets in your way and you mess it up. It's amazing. It's so anyway. That's my whole sidebar. It made no sense.
No, it's a perfect. I think it ties in because you did, and you had the humility because you've been taught for so many years to know that there's always something to learn. And I'm saying from the
Yes.
outside, now looking back as adults, we can look back and see all this stuff and hear it, and the story makes sense. But on the outside, everyone watching the band going, he's a slamming drummer. I don't understand what's going on. Why is he not on the album? Because nobody gets it back then. But you already had the experience of being taught other instruments. You're taking the opportunity to learn, and you just keep chugging along, and you had nothing to say about it. You know, so it's kind of a mystery, I think, back then for some people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mystery to me sometimes too.
Well, yeah. So the thing is,
But
actually, so with actually with Cinderella and the passing of actually two members, sadly, within a day or the same day. I don't even know exactly
three
the limit.
three
Okay,
members.
three.
We also lost John Purdell, who was our keyboard player before Gary.
Oh, that's right.
That was on
That's
the
right.
'98 tour, right? '99. So
I forgot
yeah.
about that. Yeah. So to kind of wrap up on this part is what you're doing now. Besides, you do jump in, you play the clubs, and you just do Night Ranger. I mean, you do jump in over the past couple of years, doing little fun things, and you still play your drums a lot, doing rock stuff. But you're much more than that. I mean, you have a full on career now where I don't even have time to play drums in other bands. Let's talk about some of the stuff you're doing now, though. People can check out your stuff now, what you've been up to.
Well, yeah. Now I'm a full-on television composer, and I just finished two shows simultaneously. I've been working on those for the last 8 months, and I wrapped one of them yesterday, and the other one a couple of weeks ago. One's called The Ark. It's on Sci-Fi Network right now, and it streams on Peacock the following day, so Wednesdays at 10 and 9 Central, 10 East Coast, and 10 West Coast. And that show, the ratings are quite good, so hopefully we'll get a second season. And the other show is the second season of Almost Paradise, which stars Christian Kane, and it's really friggin' funny. He's also in Leverage, the show Leverage, which used to be Timothy Hutton for the first 5 seasons, and then
Yep.
now it's Noah Wiley. And Christian Kane is so funny, and we shoot it in the Philippines. So the Ark is a sci-fi, and that's shot in Serbia, and because Dean Devlin, who is the creator of that show, does the Outpost, and the Outpost, I guess they have a huge set built just for the Outpost and for Electric Entertainment. So they use that studio, and they're really good. And then the other show, the Almost Paradise, is shot in the Philippines, and that's a fun kind of cop action show, and it's really funny. And there's a lot of action in it, and yeah, it's all of it. It has the emotional stuff, and it has some drama, and it has a lot of action, and it's very funny at the same time. So that's a really fun show. So hopefully those will both go 10 seasons. And then
That'd be awesome.
I have three sports teams that I do sonic branding for, and that's the LA Kings. It's 15th year with them, and the Portland Trailblazers, and I just picked up the Detroit Red Wings. This is my first year with them.
Oh, congratulations. Can you
Yeah,
explain
thanks.
the title Sonic Branding? Because that is, first off, it's a cool name. It actually makes it sound way cooler than it is.
Yeah. So
Sonic
Sonic
Branding.
branding is it's basically a Sonic logo. So with a sports team like McDonald's, is da 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 da.
Yep.
That's I'm loving it. Okay, so that's and you don't have to see the brand. Somebody could just hum that and you go, McDonald, are
Hmm.
you singing the McDonald's song? Immediately
Right.
you have that recognition, just like the Rolling Stones. It's a tongue, and you go, that's the Rolling Stones. You don't have to read the words anywhere. You don't have to hear the music. Um, Luke Robitaille, who's a hockey player, was a hockey player, now he's the president of the Kings. Um, many years, well, 15 years ago, I took him a piece of music that I had done, and I kept sending it in to them for 3 years, every 6 months, one piece of music that I needed to. I just thought all the arenas were playing the same music, and nothing was kind of hockey centric. And I had an idea for something, so I gave him this song. Finally, he heard it, he brought me in and he said, "You can see the team coming, but I want to hear the team coming before they get there." Basically, the shark
Yep.
in Jaws. And he said, "I need a theme." He was the first hockey team to really have something like that. So he said, "I want you to change the goal song, and I need a theme." And that was my first kind of task. And it was a 3-year deal to start it off. And hopefully I'll make it 20 with these guys because um, it's been working. So I made a theme, and then just like a movie, you have a theme, and then you kind of do offshoots of the theme, and you use the themes in things that are more serious or lighter, and change the theme to major or minor or fast or slow or dance or rock or whatever it is, hip hop. And so I scored all of the TV commercials, did the show Black and White, which we won an Emmy for. Um, did do this stuff inside the arena, and yeah, I just revamped the goal song for this season. So it's the same goal song, it's just a little fresher and more modern. So hopefully that'll go another 15 on that one. So that's what it is, and the same thing with the Trailblazers. Won an Emmy there
Wow.
for the same thing. So um, it's you know, do I know what I'm doing? I think I do at this point. I mean, just because
I
I
think
played
you're a
arenas my
trailblazer, though,
whole
right?
life.
At this point,
Well,
though.
no,
Well, no, I mean, like
I'm
with doing the music, like is it with the team is because forever it was creepy glitter there, that one big song, everyone had it. I mean, and now it's like
right.
you're doing new, everyone's doing new music, doing something different, a little more creative.
Well, a little more creative. Plus, the everyone's coming down on these teams for them using other
Yeah.
music, and they want to monetize it. So they go back and they're suing the teams for hundreds of thousands of dollars for back catalogs.
Wow.
So I got in. I think when the getting was good, and I think hopefully I've proven myself as something. I have the Red Wings goal song as well, so that's the newest thing. Um, and that's what sonic branding is. It's basically taking the sonic logo that I create from the team outside onto the street into the television uh, commercials and any kind of events that they do, and try to bring that back inside. So you're kind of taking the experience out and bringing it back in and taking it out. And yeah, it's a cool way to kind of be creative. And these guys are all receptive to it. And it's nice because they tell you what they give you instant feedback, what they like. And it's cool to, there's no denying playing something in an arena for 20,000 people. And if they're going to latch onto it, they latch onto it. And if they're not going to. Um, so it's cool to see, but when they finally do, it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Can you still play music for 20,000 people? Just
Every
doing it a
other
different
night,
way. That's pretty
every
awesome.
other night, they're chanting to it. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I couldn't be happier. Yeah, it still gives me goosebumps. And when I hear it on TV, if I'm watching a game and I see like at Detroit, I'm like, why me? Like here they are. I love hockey. I've always loved hockey. I've loved the Red Wings forever. And then they score a goal and I can hear my music in the background and I can see that everybody on their feet chanting to the words that I did on there. And like I'm still in disbelief. I really like, wow, that I can't believe it. I really can't believe it. I'm
Uh,
still such a fanboy. I can't believe it.
no, I think that's part of the reason why you're so successful.
Yeah,
You know,
thanks.
you're a
Yeah,
fan
it's
and
fun.
you're talented. Because you're
I'm
very
such a
open and
fan.
kind.
I'm
Very
such a
true.
fan. Jeff LeBar was such a fan. I remember when we played Monsters of Rock. He went around to every single band and got all of their autographs. Metallica, he had a skateboard. He was like, "Will you sign my skateboard?" They all signed it. He had pictures signed and his guitars signed. Anything he had, he would get signed from his favorite bands. Because we were just there, that we were like, we're part of this thing with all these bands. We love these bands.
Yeah.
And so I think we've always had that mentality as, I can't believe I'm here, which is really cool, you know?
Well, I mean, I think it's really showed, and as I know, it's just very sad what happened to Jeff. I don't want to poke on that subject too much. That's not is a a sad loss for everybody.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I know. I don't want to be that guy to go there. Um, I know you get enough of that, all that kind of stuff. But I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to encourage people to go over to Double Forte Music and check out all the stuff you're doing, all the shows you're doing. Check out, the sonic branding you're doing on the teams. You know, you're all over YouTube still. You're still popping up at jams. I saw one again recently with Coury and John Five and Mike Lampy. You guys doing Run with the Devil? Um,
Oh, that was a fun one. We did three that night. Yeah, there's three
yeah,
songs there.
yeah.
Take
Coury
Your
really hit
Whiskey
some of those
Home was
notes, huh?
the coolest.
Wow. Yeah.
Corey is so good. He is such a fan of 80s rock.
His
He's a
yells too.
fan
His
of all
game.
rock.
Oh yeah, yeah. He carries a flag well.
He's great.
He sounded great
I'd
though.
never met him. I'd never met either one of those guys before that.
Yeah.
Before we got on stage.
Really.
We never rehearsed that. Never rehearsed it. Just
Oh,
showed up and saw them upstairs in the dressing. It's not even a dressing room. It's like a gathering room. Okay, dudes. And the only thing we talked about was in Take Your Whiskey Home. He said, I'm going to do that little prompt at the beginning, and then I'm going to stop and let the crowd do it, and then I'll sing it, and then you come in. I said, okay. That's the only rehearsal we did. It wasn't even a rehearsal. It was just, he was just like, this is what we're going to do. And I was like, okay, cool. And then we never played a note together until we were on stage and we played it. It was so fun. Those guys were great.
I encourage people to just go seek it out too, because it's a
Yeah, it's a
great
fun
little
one.
tip.
It's a fun one. Yeah, and I think John released one of those songs on his record.
Oh really?
Um,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I think I don't. What was it? The I Am John Five? Whatever record was I Am John Five. He did that, and there's some cool cartoons that you guys should check out for John Five. He did three of them. I scored it and produced it. Did one of the voices. I did a couple of the voices in each one of them. John's on it. Nikki Sixx is on it. Um, Cindy Brady's on it. Who else is on it? Jess Harnell, who's like the greatest VO guy on the planet. He plays Wacko from the Animaniacs. He's on it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he does a few voices on it. It's really good. But yeah, one's called Zoinks. The other one is called I Am John Five.
I've seen Zoinks
And
before. Yeah, Zoinks is good. I've seen that one.
yeah, that's a fun one. So people can go check that stuff out. That's it. Oh yeah, and I did my first VO thing, which is on the Monsters. I played the opening character. I voiced the opening character, which is Pennywhacker. He's the crypt keeper, and I am the Raven, the iconic Munsters Raven. And those were my first real kind of movie voiceover gigs. So I did those for Rob Zombie last year.
That was not long ago then, huh?
What's that?
That was not long ago then, was it? I lost a little bit of
No, it was
track of
this
time.
year.
Maybe with,
It was
yeah, with
it was
COVID, I've lost the track of time, but the dates, yeah.
Yeah, it just came out this year. It's on
Yeah.
for Universal Pictures, I think.
Yeah.
So if you get a chance to check that out, it's fun. People are expecting to see the Monsters TV show. This is basically the prequel, and it's more artsy, and it's a lot of fun. It's just fun. People wanted to. They thought because it's Rob Zombie, they wanted to be horror, and it's like the
But they weren't
Monsters
horror.
aren't. It's
The bunches were never
they were
horror.
never horror. It was a comedy thing,
Right.
and it's funny, and they were a sweet family, and that's the whole thing. It was never horror, and they were like, "We want to see the horror movie." It's like, oh my gosh, come on, people.
I think the
So
Monsters
if
was a
you're like,
precursor to like saying like the people outside, the real people were the ugly ones, like one of those type of things.
right,
The
that's
smart TV.
exactly what it was.
That the
Right.
'70s did a lot of that, and I thought that's what the Monsters were doing back then.
Yes, that's exactly what they were doing. That with the ones that everybody, there's that famous scene that that Herman is talking to Eddie, and he talks about character, and that's kind of what this whole thing is. It's just fun. It's before they moved into before they got to 1313 Mockingbird Lane. So if you look at it that way, it's so much fun. It's a fun movie.
It looks fun. I just haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen much of anything lately.
Yeah.
But
Well, shame
I will check it out.
for shame.
Yeah. I
Cool.
know. I know. I got some young kids that are taking a lot of my time right now. But
Yeah, that's all right. That's good. Well,
so
cool. Thank you so much.
thank you for being on the show, man. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for my pleasure. Yeah.